Hello everyone and welcome. About a year ago, I did a review of a pin-style moisture content meter. Now, I thought that moisture meter was pretty good for what it did, but it had the drawback of using pins to test for moisture content. Normally, this is not a problem if you're testing for firewood or scrap wood and you don't care about causing potential damage. But what if you want to test furniture or cabinet grade wood? What if you want to test hardwood flooring where you don't want to cause damage to your sample? Well, the answer is to use a non-invasive moisture meter like the one I have here today. I came across this non-contact moisture meter the other day, and I thought it could be useful to some of my viewers that do woodworking for cabinets and furniture. This meter also has the added benefit that it can test for mold and leaking water pipes inside of walls. Since I have already had experience with leaking pipes before, I thought this would be a great tool to have on hand. So if you do either woodworking or want to test to see if you have any leaking pipes in your house, stick around as I unbox and test this new moisture meter. Alright guys, so when you unbox this puppy, this is everything you get. So let's talk a little bit about some of the features that this guy has, but before we get started testing this guy, do me a big favor and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. That way you get notified every time I do another product review video, a DIY project, or a sale at a big box store where I can help you guys save even more money. Alright, so this is the non-contact moisture meter from Eric Hill, available on Amazon, link in description below. At the time of making this video, this little guy retails for $28.99. But they also have a $6 discount coupon on their Amazon page, bringing it down to around $22. So what do you get when you unbox this guy? Well, you get the moisture meter itself, you get some AAA batteries, which I already put in the unit, you get a convenient little storage pouch to keep it nice and safe when you're not using it, and you get the owner's manual that tells you everything about this guy, and it comes like in 6 different languages, so everyone should be able to read this guy. This guy comes with a 3-year warranty, and the dimensions on this guy are 6 inches by 3 inches by 1 inch in thickness. And the weight is just a few ounces. Now this is a non-contact, non-invasive moisture meter that can detect moisture up to 2 inches below the surface without causing any damage. This unit can be used as a wood moisture meter for all types of wood species, including soft and hard woods, but this unit can also be used to testing moisture content in construction material like brick, masonry, and drywall. Another great use for this meter is to use it for finding any leaking pipes in your walls or under your flooring. If you possibly have any leaking pipes inside of a wall or under the floor of your house, this little guy can give you a more accurate assessment of the location of the leak without having to break up walls or any other kind of material. Now, I've lived through the experience of leaking pipes, and having to guess as to where the leak could be coming from is really frustrating. This guy can make that very easy to deal with. This unit has a 5-minute auto shutoff and a low battery indicator, so you never run out of power when you need it. This unit has an accuracy rate of plus or minus 4%. This meter has a maximum sensing depth of 50 millimeters or 2 inches. The moisture alarm on this unit can also help you detect mold in wood. This guy has a multicolor LCD screen that is easy to read even in dark areas. This unit also has a data hold button and an audible alarm that you can turn on or off. So this little guy is a huge improvement over the previous wood moisture meter that I tested. No longer do you have to cause damage to the area being tested by piercing it with the contact pins that most moisture meters use. This little guy can test as deep as 2 inches in all sorts of materials and tell you if there's any moisture present and how much there is. Is the wood that you want to use good enough for making cabinets, flooring, furniture, or is it still too wet? Is your firewood dry enough to give you a good burn? Do you have any leaks inside your walls? These are all questions that this little guy can help you answer. So let's take a little closer look at it, and then we'll do some testing and see how it performs. Alright guys, so let's take a look at these 2 different types of moisture meters that we're talking about today. This is the new one that we're looking at today, and we're going to see how this guy works in a moment. This is the one that I tested previously, and it's a perfectly good little meter. It does the job just fine. In fact, I've used it a few times since I got it, and it works perfectly fine. It does its job. The only drawback that this one has, and this one has the improvement to it, is that this guy uses the pin style. You have these 2 little pins up here that you basically have to poke into whatever material is you're testing. testing, whether it's wood, masonry, brick, whatever it happens to be. And these little guys are what test the moisture by testing continuity through the material. You see, if you test one pin or the other, it doesn't do anything. When you test both of them together, that's when you get a reading. Now, for something like me, a human being, basically we are full of water. So it's very easy just to touch it and it'll sense the moisture that we have because our skin is obviously full of moisture. So you see right there, it goes to red and it says that I'm totally full of moisture. So it does the job it's supposed to do. The only drawback is that when you're dealing with wood or something like that you don't want to cause damage, like see, I don't have to cause damage to myself. But on wood, it doesn't work as accurately as I'll show you in a moment. Now, this little guy over here is completely different because it doesn't have to poke anything. It has a sensing area on the back. You see right here like a 2x2 square, and this is what does the sensing back here. And one cool little thing about this guy is that it has a built-in chart right there. So you carry the chart around with you everywhere you go. You don't have to carry a separate booklet or anything. It has everything right there so you can test and see and know exactly what is a good amount of moisture to have or not have based on the different materials that you're looking at. So this little guy, basically what you do is, let me tell you about all the different displays and buttons and stuff, and then we'll do some testing with it. Now you see right here you have the display up there, which is a color display, and I'll show you what I mean. See how it gives you a color right there, and by testing me, obviously it goes off the scale. It's like way too much moisture when it's testing my body. But you can select through the different things you test. Right there it tells you the mode, and you set the mode right there to whatever it is that you want to test, and it'll adjust to that very easily. Now, when you have it there on the soft woods, then you use the dem button up here, and it'll tell you the density of whatever it is that you're testing up there, and you have different density that you can set it to if you know the species that you're testing and what you need to do. Now, for me, I'm just guessing today at the piece of wood that I'm using, so I'm just going to leave it at 1. And the hold button is for your data hold. The set button is for the alarm, where you can set it to go off at a certain moisture content. So in other words, if you want it to go at 10 or above, that's what you set it to, and then the alarm won't sound until you get to that point. So it's convenient to have that there. And as far as the density that I showed you a moment ago, it's right here. It tells you exactly what density you should use based on the different species of wood that you're testing. And the on-off button's right smack in the middle, so that's very easy to understand. Now, let's test something right here on the bench. Like I said, I have this scrap piece of wood, which I don't care what happens to this guy. I can poke at it all I want, and it's not going to cause any problems for it. But if you have a nice, good, grade piece of furniture wood or something like that, or cabinet wood or something, you don't want to put holes in it. So that's why this is an improvement over this little pokey guy right here, which is going to be a bit more problematic if you want nice wood that you don't want to have damage done to it. But let's see how accurate they are. How do they come close to each other? Are they good enough or not? Let's see. Let's test this little guy right here. And you see right there, we put it and we get a reading of 9.2, something like that. And as you move it around based on the grains and so forth, you may get a different reading. But you see right there, we're looking at about 10 around there. You move it somewhere else, 9.7, 9.4. You know, you move it to different parts of the wood, you may get different readings based on the grain, the density, etc. And like I said, if you know what kind of wood it is, which I don't know, this might be a Doug fir or something, I don't know. It doesn't say Doug fir down here, so I'm just guessing. But it doesn't really matter, does it? Sometimes good enough is good enough. As long as you know exactly what the amount is, you're perfectly fine. So around 9 to 10 is what this guy is saying. Let's test it with this other guy here and see what it says. Now, you saw a moment ago how on my skin, it was able to test it very, very easily. Now, this guy here, you see, it doesn't test it that easily. I can't just touch it and find out what it is. I literally have to push it into the wood to get an accurate reading. So here we go, pushing it in. There you go. You're looking at about 10, 11, something like that. And again, it depends where you put it on here. 11.2 around there. 10.3, 0.2, 0.4 around there. It moves around. So actually, it's pretty darn accurate. These two guys come really, really close to each other as to what readings they were giving. Within, like I said, plus or minus 4%, something like that. So these two guys are fairly close to each other, really, really very, very close, considering you have two different styles of testing. poking directly into the wood and non-invasive. So I think it does a fairly good job, really, really good. I thought it was going to be further off than what it actually is. Within a point of each other, it's really, really close. Good enough for what you're going to do. Like I said, this is not something that has to be critical. You don't need to be spot on for everything you're testing. You just want to know roughly what is going on. In fact, on the back here, like I said, it gives you percentages of what you can have that's good, bad, or indifferent. Good, middle, or bad. And that gives you an idea of what you're looking at. So that's not too bad. Let's take a look at some other materials. All right, guys, so here we are looking at some hardwood flooring inside my house. Now, I mentioned previously in the video that I've had experiences with leaking pipes inside my house, and you guys that have been around for a long time on my channel, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But for those of you that don't, I'll put up a link in the corner of this video, that way you can see the problem that I had before and how I dealt with it. Anyway, so I had a slab leak on that side of the bar over there. That is a bar. That area that you see there, that is a cabinet, that is a bar. On the other side is a different kind of flooring. And I had a slab leak over there, and some of the water came over here under this hardwood flooring that I have here. And you can see a little bit of staining and so forth. See how this area is a little darker? Because the water kind of soaked into it. This area over here was unaffected. So I'm going to show you right now, it's still a bit damp on that area there. I mean, you can't see it. You can't feel it. It's not damp to the touch as far as I'm concerned. But it is damp as far as you can see the discoloration in the wood. I'm going to have to refinish this at some point. In fact, you can see right there, there's certain areas right there where the water has messed up the finish, and I'm letting that happen. I'm letting it continue because that means that the moisture is coming out of the wood, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. When I feel that enough moisture has come out of the wood, then all I have to do is basically sand this down, refinish it, and it'll look as good as new. I can get that area to match this area, and you'll never tell that there was any difference there whatsoever. It's not really that hard. The good thing is that this is real hardwood floor. This is real oak flooring. This is like a 3/4 inch oak flooring, so I can refinish it without any problem whatsoever and make it look like new. The good thing is that the water that seeped from over there over here was not that much and did not sit there long enough to cause any warping. I mean, there's a slight little imperfection if I run my hand across it compared to this area over here, but it's nothing. When I sand that a little bit, it'll be gone, so I'm not really that concerned about it. But what I did previously is I tested that area there with the little pokey one that I showed you before, where I had to poke into the wood, and I leaves tiny little holes, and that's what allowed some of this stuff to air out, because this is where I poked it over here to see what the moisture content was, and that allows the moisture to come out through there, and that's what kind of ruined the finish. But like I said, I knew that was going to happen. I wasn't really concerned about it, but if you're dealing with good lumber and you don't want to cause damage like what I have here, then you don't want to have to do that. So let me show you where we are now. Like when this happened, I put heaters here, I put fans here, I put everything to be able to dry this as quickly as possible. But when you have a 3/4 inch piece of lumber sitting on top of some underlayment and then sitting on top of a slab foundation, it's going to be practically impossible to dry it up instantly. So I'm allowing it to dry over time and get a much more thorough drying, and then I'll be able to fix it when I'm good and ready to take care of all that stuff. There's no rush. Like I said, the water is gone. It's already taken care of. Just let it air out, and we'll take care of it from there. But I'm going to show you what the meter says at this point. So we have the meter, and I set it to masonry right now, because if you set it to wood, remember, there's a slab under here, and the cement slab, will always have some moisture content to it, so it'll throw this off completely. So I changed it to masonry to be able to get a more accurate reading. So let's put it right there, and you can see exactly how that's still quite a bit of moisture in that area. It's still at 24%. Let's move it around a bit, and you see there it's about 22. You go up there, it's about 21. Now you move over here and look at the difference, 9.5. That is a big, big difference. Come over here, you're looking at about 12, 13 around there, 13 around there, 10, 11. So you see, the further away you get, the less there is. 8.9. The further away you get from it, so most of the water settled there. It's tiny little bit, probably wicked over here. So there's still a bit of moisture, but once you get over this side, out of the frame, it gets down to like 6 or 7 or something like that. So it gets really, really low. So I can't show you that, but you can see the big difference. I mean, it still says it is green. That is dry wood. So that's not really a big deal. But this part over here, when you're looking at 27, that still has some work to be done. That still is an area that I need to have a good hot summer to dry that up even better. So that shows you right there, these little meters are quite useful when you're looking at different situations like this. Otherwise, I couldn't know what's going on here. I'd have to be guessing at it. But this gives you an idea of what's going on and what work you need to be done. So that's pretty cool. All right, so here we are looking at a wall in my house. And let's take a look at this. And if you want to know what's going on behind your walls, this little guy can come in very handy. So I set it to wall right now. And when I put it up against the drywall, there you go, 0.8. That, which should be a normal amount, there's no moisture. Drywall is basically chalk. It doesn't really have any moisture in it. But if this was any higher, then you would know that you have like leaky pipes or something behind that. Fortunately, there are no pipes behind this area, so there should be no moisture whatsoever. So 8 to 10, 11, around there, you can see up here is still 1 notch. So there's really no moisture content in this wall whatsoever. So that's one way to know if you have a problem in the walls of your house or not. All right, guys, so let's do another test. And this, I think, is the most important test that I think a lot of my viewers would be most interested in. Now, some of you guys are woodworkers, and I know this meter will work beautifully for a lot of you guys that are woodworkers. And some of you guys go camping and stuff like that, so this is great for firewood. But I think the vast majority of you would be interested in testing for leaky pipes inside your walls. So I have this scrap piece of drywall right here. And this side over here is perfectly dry. I'm going to turn it over in a minute and show you. This part is perfectly dry. This part over here, I moistened the back of it to simulate a leaky water pipe inside your wall. The front of it is totally dry. I have totally made sure that it didn't get wet, and then I hit it with a blow dryer to be sure that it is completely dry on the outside part. So let me show you the back of it so you know what I'm talking about. You can see the moisture there, and it's not a lot. A leaky water pipe would have a lot more than this. This part completely dry. This part wet. So let's see. Will the moisture meter know the difference or not? Let's start over here. This part is totally dry. What does it say? Well, there you go, 1.1. Nothing much there at all. Let's go to the middle, and there you have it, 0.7, not much at all. Now we get over to this side, and look at that. 13.6 all the way up into the red area. And you saw that it really wasn't all that wet. So if you have a leaky pipe behind this wall and it is spraying the water a little bit or a lot onto the back of the drywall, and you don't have any signs on the outside, but you have a suspicion that there might be a leaky pipe behind that wall, there you go. This little guy will help you narrow it down, and it tells you exactly where the greatest amount of moisture content is just by moving it around, and you can tell what's going on. So you see, it works kind of like a stud finder. It helps you to find exactly where the greatest amount of moisture is, and that tells you right there, okay, there's greatest right there. Maybe that's where the leak is at. So it works really, really well as a moisture meter, even for a wall. And you see I have it set to wall right there. So finding leaky pipes would be a whole lot simpler with this little guy. You don't even need to call a plumber until you need to know how to fix the repair itself if you want to pay for a plumber. But you don't need to pay one of these specialty companies to find the leak for you. This little guy for around 20 bucks will help you find that leak. So there you go. Pretty convenient little tool to have on hand. All right, guys, there you have it. A review and demonstration of a non-invasive wood moisture meter that can be very useful for many other situations as well. As a DIYer, this little meter can help you determine if you have dry enough wood for doing wood projects, or getting good firewood, or finding leaky pipes inside your walls. For around 22 bucks, this guy can pay for itself after just one use. Very convenient little device to have on hand, and it won't cause any damage to the area being tested, unlike other moisture meters on the market. Check out the links below for all the details. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye for now.